Hello, my lovelies. Just thought I'd come on and do a video about Jeanette Archer. Um, I've kept off the subject of Jeanette Archer for a while, even though I've had major concerns about the woman. She's involved in this satanic panic, trying to create a new satanic panic, a rerun of what happened in the 1990s, and trying to make out that the whole world is run by Satanists and the satanic um, rings and temples doing horrendous things. I'm not even going to repeat what she says because what she comes out with is that gory, that intensely gory, that Sean has had to remove her videos from his channel, his true crime channel. Talking about Sean Atwood, the podcaster here, who, as I've said in the past, is definitely involved in trying to create this satanic panic because he's involved with the likes of John Wedger. He's involved with Jeanette Archer, he's involved with others. They're trying to create this panic again, which isn't going to happen because, as I say, we had it in the 90s with Michelle Remembers, which was a Canadian book, which turned out was proven very quickly to be a load of rubbish. It couldn't have happened. The things the woman was saying couldn't have happened because they could check where she was and all that. People looked into it. These satanic temples everywhere were never found. Same happened in the early 2000s, sorry, I should say. And again, it led to nothing. So every so often, I'd say every 10 to 15 years, you get a new breed of let's create a new satanic panic. And it never comes up with anything solid to prove that these temples do exist. It's a satanic ring or temple somewhere that's doing atrocities. I dare say there is somewhere, but it's not a global problem like they're making out. And also, right, you don't need to be a Satanist to do horrendous things. I can assure you, Christians, Muslims, other faiths, Hindu, anything, they can do horrendous things to children and other people. I can assure you, it's not just Satanists that would do it. Anyway, to move on to my concerns about it, until Jeanette Archer comes forward with evidence of what she claims, and she claims some horrendous things were done to her. We're talking about really grotesque, physically as well, which begs the question, how the hell she ever managed to give birth to children? You can work it out in your mind what she reckons was done to her. So surely someone having that done to them would have horrific internal, not only internal and external injuries. And the prospect of giving birth with the scar tissue involved, if you could give birth, I mean, imagine your reproductive organs would be totally destroyed. But say that you could still give birth, I'd imagine it would be a dangerous process. Now, one thing Jeanette doesn't do, like John Wedger, her friend, the ex-Met Police detective who has claimed that the Satanists, it's on the same track, the Satanists everywhere, they're fighting Satanists, never come out with any evidence. And she never comes out with any evidence to back up her claims, which a genuine survivor of sexual abuse, not satanic ritual abuse, but sexual abuse, Barbara O'Hare, has challenged again and again Jeanette Archer to come forward with the evidence, and has pointed out the fact Jeanette Archer reckons there's, oh God, how many 100 or more children she saw being slaughtered and buried, but yet Jeanette Archer has never revealed this information to the police or led anyone to where these bodies are. What the perfect way to prove what you say is true, by showing where these bodies are. But not only her, but John Wedger, interestingly, won't do that either. Now, doesn't John Wedger have a line to who to go to in the police? He'll know who to go to into the police to have this looked into, but he never has. Very telling. Very telling. So until Jeanette Archer comes forward with evidence to prove what she's saying, I feel confident in doubting every word she says. Now, I've I was saying the other day in a tweet, you know, I don't believe Jeanette Archer is mentally unbalanced. John Wedger, I've got question marks, but I'm not a doctor. But I've got question marks with John Wedger that there's a lot to do with mental health with him, and there's a lot to do with addiction to alcohol. Jeanette Archer, I think, is as bright as anyone, and in my personal opinion, it's just my opinion, what it is she's a massive narcissist who just wants to be a hero. She wants to be people to bow down to her as a great hero. And this is another thing I've put about it, is the way when she's going into graphic details, when she's talking about these horrendous things that happen to children, she's smiling. Watch her sometime. I'm not going to put her on here because I don't want to, you know, I just don't want to get that involved in it. But she smiles, and it's all like, oh yes, this is horrendous, and it's a battle between light and dark. Oh yeah, and just watch it. Does this look like a woman who went through the most horrific, depraved torture and saw the most horrific things, that she's smiling all the way through it? Now, not convincing, not one bit convincing at all. Well, what she's doing, she's going on this protest or whatever to draw attention. Apparently it's going to change do you know how many times you hear this? It's going to change the world. They're going to save the world. They're taking action on these Satanists and all this on the 26th. That's not what I'm bothered about. If she wants to do that, that's up to her. If her followers want to do that, that's up to her. I think they're going to find that it's going to be a big disappointment. The public are well used to and well bored with these claims of scary monsters, you know, hiding in places, controlling the world and all that. But what is concerning is, and I was reminded this of a tweet this morning that I saw by someone else, and he said Jeanette Archer is talking all the time about rescuing children from these satanic temples or whatever. There's a problem with that, as this person said. That sounds very much too close to kidnapping children. Now, there's actually at the moment a case which people who are into this debate on, does satanic ritual abuse exist or not, with Wilfred Wong, who now is waiting sentencing with other people because he allegedly kidnapped. Now, some of them have agreed to it and said that they did kidnap this child to allegedly rescue him. Look, people, when you've got someone like Jeanette, and Jeanette Archer's well in with them, she was in the court case, apparently in Mould. Who would have known this? Mould is a hotspot for Satanism, apparently. God, you know, they come out with these. You know what? They don't get the thing. You can't just pull these claims out of your backside, Jeanette and John Wedger. You've got to actually come up with the evidence. It's not enough to just pull them, and that's why they don't go to the police, because they haven't got the evidence. And I'll point before I forget to another thing. Words are important, and this is what I always say, and John Wedger uses this one. When they're over the targets, the meaning the satanic temples, when they're over the targets, panic sets in, and apparently people like me who they claim are Satanists and other people they claim are Satanists start kicking off to distract them. Well, actually, just examine that saying, when they are over the targets, or close to the targets, shall I say. What does that actually tell you about what they're saying? They're telling you that they haven't actually found these satanic temples or these satanic rings. They're still searching for them. That's what it's telling you. They haven't found any evidence for them, but yet they're claiming that they exist with absolutely not one shred of evidence. And don't forget, John Wedger has been doing this, he claims, for 10 years. Have you seen him produce what? Look, John Wedger hasn't even, he calls himself a whistleblower, and I've said this again and again and again. Show me where John Wedger has actually named anyone that's a danger to, or has been a danger to children, that hasn't been revealed by someone else beforehand. He's never exposed anyone, not once. Anyway, getting back to the concerns over this you know, rescuing children. Look, people, there's disturbed people out there. There's people who are religious, have a religious bent, which makes them not quite think the right way or normally. You can't have people going around. If Jeanette Archer said, well, we're going to rescue these children by going to the police and reporting it, or by going to social service and reporting it, fine. But you can just feel that that's not what they're talking about. That's not what they're talking about. But let me just say, and I do usually get these things right, I warned Sean Atwood a long time ago when he first started on this John Wedger journey, supporting, and he does, he backs up John Wedger 100%, he backs up Jeanette Archer, all of them he does. He's well into this satanic ritual abuse thing. Well, I warned him, I said, you're going to get the police knocking at your door someday. Because these are dangerous people, and I've said it from day one, the danger. This is well before the Wilfred Wong incident happened, who also Sean Atwood promotes. Exactly what I said what happened. The police got involved. And I'm telling you, the police, and started questioning Sean Atwood. And I'm telling you now, the police will carry on looking at Sean Atwood. They'll carry on looking at Jeanette Archer, not because they're trying to protect the Satanists they are trying to expose. Because they're dangerous people. You can't go around talking people about rescuing children like that. Let the authorities rescue these children. Let that happen. And also, this is another thing, and you know, this MK Ultra. Now, I used to think, oh well, MK Ultra, you know what is it? Load of rubbish. But actually, there is evidence that MK Ultra was a thing. So, you know, and they all go on about this MK Ultra. What I can't understand, and this is where I can't get, and I'm specifically saying this to people like Angela Power Disney, who claims she was a victim of MK Ultra. Ask yourself this: when John Wedger, which is this is what's happening, people, it's behind the scenes, him and Sean Atwood, as is involved in this as well, are getting people, I'd say vulnerable women mainly, who have some kind of abuse, and when they get them behind the scenes, are trying to convince them that they were victims of satanic ritual abuse when they've never claimed to be. Isn't that akin to MK Ultra brainwashing someone? It is, isn't it? When you're putting thoughts into their heads. And if you're in, and so I think that people like Angela Power Disney should stand up and say, well, wait a minute, you can't, all right, if you want to save people, but save people who are actually saying that they were victims of satanic ritual abuse. Don't save people who are saying that they were victims of abuse and then put it into their heads that they were victims of satanic ritual abuse. That's akin to MK Ultra to me. Putting false ideas in their head. And if you're in any doubt that John Wedger does this, he does, and the people he works with, and so did Wong as well, because I tell you how you know. He was recently interviewed by Sean Atwood with Alan Merritt, who was a victim or survivor of the beach home care homes. Now, Alan Merritt is in his 60s. So you're talking about, it was a long time ago, what happened to him. Now, not one point in the past did him or any other person from that home, care homes, right? At no point did they mention satanic ritual abuse. Suddenly, Alan Merritt meets John Wedger, gets in with him, and suddenly saying, oh yeah, well, there was a church nearby and it used to have lights on at night. That leads into the satanic ritual abuse. You had John Wedger interviewing a woman, I think her name was Jen or something like that, who kept on specifying she was abused, but there was no satanic ritual abuse involved or ritual abuse of any sort. John Wedger kept on saying it is satanic ritual abuse, it is satanic ritual abuse. So there we are, they're putting it in their heads. And why they having to put it in their heads? Because they're not finding the evidence. Another example of how they have to invent evidence instead of actually producing genuine evidence. Do you remember Lou Dickens? Now, Lou Dickens is the granddaughter of Geoffrey Dickens, who was part of this 90s trying to get a satanic panic going. And, you know, I always found it very strange about Geoffrey Dickens, how he claimed to have spoken to these people who were Satanists and all this, and yet he never related the police to it. Odd. I mean, I know he spoke to the police about things, but he didn't tell them, this person has just told me the witness murders. Wouldn't you do that? Anyway, what Lou did, and it's so telling this a while ago, with a friend, and now I don't know whether it's Lou's daughter or a friend's daughter, they had a little girl with her, you could hear her. They went to see this little folly. And they claim, not like a little, like Stonehenge, but a modern version of Stonehenge, you know, like little standing stones and things. Just a folly so that visitors could enjoy themselves out in the open, go in and go through this pretty little folly that looked a bit like Stonehenge. Now, of course, Lou and her friend go there all dramatic and hyped up. They have found an out in the open satanic temple, right? You know what? Not Bryce at all in the head. They go then and say later on, Lou says that she'd been there before. So how come they just happened upon this? They just discovered it. But the important issue is, so she was lying. She hadn't just found it. She knew it was there, and they purposely went there to set up this dramatic scene, making that they'd found something. But the important thing was, and this I'll link back to Jeanette Archer, she said also, no, she had a girl with her now. Don't know whether to say a daughter or a friend's daughter, and a friend has an absolutely disgusting mouth. Absolutely disgusting language comes out of her mouth. But anyway, this child, you could hear her getting upset. Of course she's getting upset. She's got these two mad women going on about Satanists and all this, all hyped up, and they've got a child with them. That's going to warp a child's mind, and they got a kickback from that. And all that you got was potty mouth remarks coming out of it. But let's link this back to Jeanette Archer. Another worrying thing about Jeanette Archer, why I'm saying this, is Jeanette Archer is telling people to educate children about these satanic abuses and these satanic temples. In other words, going into full detail. And someone scarily said to her in the comments, you can't afford to be innocent nowadays. That is child abuse, people. Look, there's more than one way to abuse a child, and it doesn't always involve sexual abuse. You can screw the mind up as well. And can you imagine, as a child, just put yourself in that place, and you've got this adult telling you, especially the likes of Jeanette Archer with that creepy grin she has on her face, well, you know, I'm just going to tell you, you've got to understand what's out there. And talking about cutting babies open, talking about torture, talking about this. That's why I say she is a dangerous woman. Now, what can be done? Well, of course, I can tell you now, without a doubt, I don't need to find out from the police. She'll be on the police radar for no other reason than she is a danger. She's already been pulled in by the police for naming a protected witness, which again is child abuse. It was a child she named. Other people are getting pulled in quite rightly. You can't go, it's child abuse, there's no doubt about it, putting them out there and doing this. And it also puts the child in danger, because one unbalanced might just take action on this. You know, you have to be very, very careful. But you can't go doing that. It will twist the minds. Jeanette Archer definitely is a very dangerous one. But I tell you now, she'll eventually be stopped, because she's either going to end up being told you're going to go to prison for this, or something's going to happen. But you'll come a cropper. Like I predicted what happened to Sean. And a message to people who are trying to bring Sean down, trying to destroy Sean. You know, you've got people out there, people know who I'm talking about, who know me, who are obsessed with trying to destroy him. I don't know why you're trying so hard, because you know what? You can just sit back. Sean Atwood is walking towards his own destruction as a podcaster. With the stuff, he's back in with John Wedger. We can see that he's back in with all this. I've said from day one, didn't I say before Wilfred wrong, there'd be a scandal would hit this group. That's not me having a crystal ball and predicting things. It's common sense. If these are going into nutcase, which that's the only way you can describe nutcase theories, and doing things like this, they're going to get on the wrong side of the law. They're all going to come a cropper. Eventually, either Sean's going to be arrested again, they're going to get his computers, get everything, look through them, or YouTube is just going to say, they're going to get onto YouTube and YouTube are going to say, you know, that's enough of you. So leave him. I mean, look, people going on about Wilfred Wong reporting to the police and all that. No one had to report Wilfred Wong to the police. It was obviously he was going to do something eventually. And the police can't act on maybe will do. They have to act on has done or has attempted to. And that's where it's gone now. So these people will be stopped eventually. And they have to be stopped because they're dangerous. If they've got evidence of these satanic temples, come up with the evidence. Don't keep on claiming it's there and claiming you're over the targets, which is just telling us that you haven't found them. And it would also be interesting to know what John Wedger did with the money was given for these night fishing goggles that cost £500 each that he was given. I don't know whether it's given the money or the night fishing goggles, but he got this money. The big plan was they were going to find these. Alan Merritt was involved in this, and they're being quiet about this now. They're going to find these satanic temples and film them at night. Nothing's happened. Where's these goggles gone? Where's the money gone for these goggles? Well, actually, with John Wedger, where's the money gone? The thousands and thousands of pounds that seems to have disappeared into the ether that he was taking off people, donations he was taking off people, which he's never accounted for. So when he's talking about making this new documentary, someone on YouTube, sorry about doing that, someone in YouTube, they don't say documentary, they say documentary. You know, he's saying now he's going to be transparent. Too late, John, you should have been transparent in the past. No point saying you're going to be transparent now because people know that you're not transparent and you can't be trusted. Tell us where the money made, because one donation was supposed to be 20 grand. Where's that gone? Whereas there was 2 charities, and this is how I first got a list to John Wedger, because I asked him. There was 2 charities he raised money for. They got £2,000 each, but yet the allegation was that £11,000 went missing. And John put it down in Sean Atwood's, an interview with Sean Atwood, to expenses. He didn't say 11,000, but he said there were overheads. Bloody expensive overheads if it's 11k. Explain all that, then people can believe that you're transparent. But anyway, I'll leave it there, my lovelies. I've gone on too long. But yeah, look, Jeanette and other people like it, Jeanette, John Wedger, Sean Atwood as well, because I say he's well behind this, he's well supporting all this. Come forward with the evidence. Stop saying there is and that you're looking for it. Come forward with the evidence. We've had this from the 1990s and no one has come up with solid evidence yet. I say there might be a satanic ritual somewhere. Look, there's no depths that humanity won't sink to that is torturing children. But as I say, you'll also find Christian, Muslim, Hindu people that will torture and destroy children or abuse them by turning them into absolutely paranoid, petrified children by telling them that someone's going to kidnap them, cut them open and all this business and drink the blood. But I'll leave it there, my lovelies. So until next time, bye bye now.